Marlon, thank you for calling. Tell us your thoughts here on the spiritual experience you had and what that proves for you.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Hi,
Doing
doing
great.
all right. What's up with your thought here? I'm curious. That spirits are real and documented. Tell us about that.
Well, it's because there has been an incident on a playground. This is located on a school near a cemetery, and then the people walking by, they notice the swing on the playground. It never stops moving. It just keeps swinging back and forth, and until the cops were called, and even the police has saw it. Even the police has been involved, and the local news. They came in with the dogs, and there were people that saw shadow figures over in that playground area of the school. So yeah, it has been documented.
So to me, this gives
Everyone saw it, including me.
Where has this been documented? Is there a website where this is at, or
on the local news?
okay, is there a paper? Is there a reference we could look at this?
On the newspaper, internet. It's been told in GMA. I think GMA, there was a program called KMJS. You know.
Okay, so I think that the way that I might view this, though, yeah, I feel like local papers do tend to report a lot of things that don't necessarily turn out to be super well substantiated just because they're looking for news. But I would also say that this kind of sounds like an incident to me that could be a sort of like one person thought they saw something, and then it became the suggestion that that's what you're supposed to see. And I know it's hard because in a way I'm saying, like, I doubt your personal experience, but I think that sometimes we're primed to see things. I think that if we go by and there's a breeze or something happening, that it's entirely possible that we see what we expect to see, that we're going to see a figure or see a shadow and not look for natural explanations because we're ready to believe a spiritual explanation.
No, the swing set never stopped moving.
Mm-hmm.
It never stopped moving. They tried to do anything they can to intervene.
I'm assuming it's stopped now, like it's not still going, right?
That were seen. Yes, it kept going for a couple of hours.
Okay. Well, again, I'm desperately trying to Google stuff here. I think in the future, and this is for anybody that calls in, if you have a specific experience and you say this is documented publicly, you should be ready to provide that source to us so that we can take a look, because otherwise it's going to be your word versus our word, right, Marlon? Like, I can't verify that what you're saying is true without having a source to look at it, right? Otherwise, we have to just blindly speculate based on what you're telling us. And that's not a super great way for us to figure out if something's true or not, right? Like, we have to be able to kind of look at the facts of a situation and see what's actually going on here, because maybe it wasn't going on for hours. Maybe it was just for a little bit. Maybe it wasn't actually reported on the paper. Maybe it was reported on a forum somewhere, right? There could be some differences here that we're not going to be able to verify unless we have that information handy. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that that's pretty important because we kind of just are like, I guess that might have happened. We don't necessarily have anything to look at here. I would be interested to know your thoughts on a particular TV show. So have you ever heard of Paranormal Home Inspectors?
I've seen that shit.
It's great. Seen that show.
Yeah. If it's available, I highly recommend it. I actually can't. I've been looking for because I think it aired initially in Canada, so I can't in America see exactly where I can watch it. But it's super fun because they take a psychic and a paranormal researcher and a certified home inspector into the home of someone who believes they're being haunted. And the people who live there and the psychic will usually have experiences that they feel they can't explain, experiences that they feel are very concrete evidence of what's going on. And then the home inspector inspects the house, and almost every single time has quite a few explanations for, oh, this actually is drafty and you might not realize it, but that's what's causing this noise up here. And so these things are connected and we can actually fix that. It's a problem with the house. It's not necessarily something that it is paranormal, as much as that's how people experience it. So I would be curious if you watch that TV show, because there are a lot of little incidents that sound very similar to something like a swing continuing to move when people try to stop it. And there is a natural explanation the vast majority of the time, at least. So I would say, I'm certainly skeptical of this being proof of anything, partially because I am like, I think that there's a lot of times a natural explanation without actually having the news story. We can't speak too specifically to it, but I think that's my take. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've thought about calling about this to you guys because I have a video and a couple of photos of a shadow figure like caught on my phone,
Honestly, I would say send that to the email.
Yep, yeah. Send it to the email. Call it
totally.
Truth Wanted. Email? Truth Wanted, we'll want to hear it. We'll want to hear it on there. But here's what I'll say, and I think we'll probably let you go after this, Marlon. But the Philippines in particular, extremely Catholic country, right? Every time we get a call from the Philippines, it's always about demon possessions or shadow people. I don't know if the Philippines got something going on that the rest of us don't have it, but I think the lens of a cultural experience might reinterpret some facts of a particular matter that we could see here. And I wouldn't even doubt that even if a local paper is reporting on a phenomenon, that there may be some things, again, where a cultural bias might be at play as to the particular facts of a phenomenon. I think you have to evaluate in your own mind which is more likely, that people are misremembering, mishearing, or misinterpreting an event that's happening, or there's demon figures that are hanging out at a playground swinging a swing for a couple hours for apparently no reason whatsoever, right? Like, you have to think about, what's going to be more likely in this case. From what I'm hearing you right now, I'm going with the former, which is just, I think there's a misinterpretation of events that's happening here. I think maybe there's some telephone going on. If there is some documentation of this, I'd love to see it, but for now I don't have that. So that's the conclusion I'm left with. Does that make sense?
Is that also the same case with miracles, like with religious miracles?
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye to you because we actually have another call coming up that I feel like speaks a little bit to, the what they say is religious phenomenology. And so I feel like this is kind of paired with that. We could go on all day about somebody saw a miracle or experienced a particular thing and that there's, not a lot to substantiate it, but they very firmly and very earnestly believe in it. Yeah. So I think that that's maybe what we have going on here. After living in the Philippines for a bit, yes, it is a country where there's quite a bit of discussions of demons. There's quite a bit of, it's sort of referred to as folk Catholicism in one textbook I read about it. I think that every place adapts the faith to their local culture, right? And I think that this can be a part of it. It's fun and exciting to think that there's a spirit there. It's always exciting to be like, maybe it's a demon.
But Marlon, if you're still listening, to answer your question directly, yes, I do think this applies to pretty much every miracle that's ever been recorded ever. Even modern times in the Catholic Church, when they talk about miracles, which they do have committees for, which they allegedly go through a rigorous process for determining whether something's a miracle or not. 99% of the time in modern times, those miracles are going to be medical phenomenon that we don't have a full understanding of, like remission of cancer and stuff, right? But then when you go back like 500 years, it's like they put her head back on her head and she was walking around town. And it's like, okay, well, I haven't seen that, but cool if it happened, I guess. So there you go.